Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Wednesday, and all of our guests, including John Shannon from 100% Hockey, the podcast standing by, brought to you by the Vancouver Canadians. Seas return to the net next Tuesday when they take on Spokane for a 6-game series. The homestand includes Dog Day of Summer Night. You can bring your pooch. A nooner and visits from Blue Jays alumni Pat Borders and Todd Stottlemyre. Check out the full schedule and get your tickets at CanadiansBaseball.com or call 604-872-5232. Game 1, Stanley Cup Final tonight in Edmonton. Oilers versus Panthers. And here to talk about that and all matters hockey from 100% Hockey, it's John Shannon. John, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I am great. How are you, boys?
Very good. Would you consider this matchup a positive one for the National Hockey League in terms of interest, John?
Actually, I would, based on the success of last year. When you can put these two teams back on the same platform, different styles, big names on both teams, different markets. They're not the biggest markets in either country, but they have followings. There were more than 7 million Canadians that watched Game 7 last year, and I think a lot of people are reminded of exactly what that series was like with the Oilers' comeback of 3 consecutive victories. So I do think that even though this break has been 6 days and probably 3 too long, I think there's a long list of followers that people will tune in. Maybe by the weekend, Donnie, more than anything.
Okay, you mentioned something there, John, the 6-day break. Why so much time between the end of the conference finals and the start of the final? And if it's not possible to start it sooner, could the NHL not do a better job of making news in that period?
What would you suggest?
Awards. I know they've announced a couple.
Yeah, but here's the issue. So I understand the 6-day break bothers people. But remember, the conference finals both went 5 games. And so you still have to leave time to play games 6 and 7. So you need 4 more days to allow for that if they, in fact, do occur. And then, so do you plan something and then take it off the docket when the games occur? The other thing is that both networks in Canada and the one in the United States like to have scheduled dates. And believe it or not, the original date that was supposed to start this series was June 7th, not June 4th. And because the series both ended in 5, they moved it up 3 more days. So there was a bit of a compromise there. But this is all based on other things in the schedules for the TV networks and also working around the NBA finals, which occur not on TNT like they do in the U.S. For the Stanley Cup, but with ABC, because you don't want to compete head-to-head with the NBA.
Hey, John, you had Rick Tocchet on the big podcast recently. What'd you take out of that?
That wasn't as good as your interview with Rick. You guys did a better job.
Come on.
You guys do good. You guys do good work. I mean, heck, you know the market better than anybody. How do you? It's tough to compete that way. But
can you tell our bosses that, John?
So we need new contracts. Please tell.
Yeah, I'm hiring. I'm giving you long term, baby.
Oh, thank you.
I tell you what, I'd give you the 8th year because you're going to take the hometown discount.
There you go.
So.
Year by year, we'll take a year. Thank you.
Never take just a year.
You know our industry. Are you kidding me, John? Donnie and I have been fired 500 times in the last 10 years.
I just keep telling people with the 3 of us, it's a very exclusive club of being fired. So why not? The one thing that did come out of it, I think that he was trying to be very diplomatic about his time in Vancouver. But if you listen to the whole show, late in the show, Darren was congratulating him on the fit in Philadelphia. And I said, well, hold on. No, there was a great fit in Vancouver. And at which point Rick said, hey, John, tell everybody in Vancouver I'm not a quitter.
Right.
I did not quit. So, and I like Rick. I have to take him at his word. And so that's truly what he believes. and he's moved on from it. I will say that when the schedule comes out in a couple of weeks, we're going to have a fun time circling that Philadelphia at Vancouver game because I suspect there'll be a lot of noise in the building that night.
John, you know what? The NHL Combine right now, all the GMs are there. They're talking trade. I heard this morning just a ton of buzz, trade talk. We got the draft coming up July 1st. I mean, we're expecting fireworks, John, in Vancouver. We really are. But I think this week they're planting the seeds in Buffalo at the Combine for some big moves at the draft.
I think you're right. And one of the reasons why it's happening sooner is that they're not going to be in the same building on draft day. They're going to be in 32 different cities on draft day because this is the remote draft, you recall. It'll be the first and last remote draft, Rick.
Yeah, exactly.
Because teams will hate it by the time it's finished. So when you do have 32 managers and agents all under one roof in Buffalo, this is a real face-to-face opportunity to sit and talk about your guy, my guy, draft picks. And I think that I think a lot of minds will change over these next 2 or 3 days on the value of a draft pick, and particularly those teen draft picks, including one the Canucks have. Would you rather hold your draft pick or find something that can help your franchise and help your team in the 2025 season, the 25-26 season? So that to me is, I think, a big part of why there's so much, or appears to be so much, noise out of Buffalo these days.
We've had a couple of people make that statement that you just made, John. What will NHL teams hate or not like about the decentralized draft?
Well, the teams will like the saving the money.
Yes.
Let's face it. They will like that. Yeah. They will miss. Yeah. It is like, I'll tell you what, I've been to, 25 drafts. It's like a political convention. Everybody under one roof. The ability to, on the draft floor, to walk over to a table and kneel beside another general manager and whisper a couple of things to him. There's something to be said for that type of contact with each other. And I think the managers will miss it. I do think the teams will be happy they saved some money, but in the end, they will think that they have ruined an event. Because let's face it, the draft was a really, really big event, and on so many levels, for the teams, for the league, for the players, for their families. And I think that actual aspect, I think it will hit people when it happens in Los Angeles and the other two, and the 32 cities, and then we'll sit here and say, we're going back to the old style.
Yeah. I think there's a visual component too when it comes to the TV show of having everybody in one spot that I think people are going to miss. I know they'll be in there. There'll be cameras in the families' homes and stuff like that. Sure. I don't think it'll be the same. It won't be.
Well, it was. The draft wasn't the same during COVID.
Yeah,
Donnie, it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
Sure, there were. When Alexei Lafreniere was drafted and they had the camera in his house. Yes, it was, but it just wasn't the same as it was on the years where you saw Connor McDavid hug his mom and dad, or Austin Matthews do that, or all those years where all the teams, including the Canucks, had really important drafts in the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 position, and it really made a difference. Yeah.
I'll never forget Tyson Jost's grandfather crying.
Exactly.
I'll never forget that visual. Great John, Gary Bettman's going to make his State of the Union address today, I believe. How would you describe the current state of the NHL Union?
Well, no point in watching it because he's going to tell you that it's that the league's in the best shape it's ever been. Revenues are close to $6 to $7 billion. There are things pointing positive to a peaceful collective bargaining negotiation that is occurring as we speak. Although there was hope that he would be able to announce a new CBA today, but I don't think that's going to happen. The issues of fragile franchises has disappeared with the success in Salt Lake City. So everything is pointed with the arrows going up, Donnie, and I think that's the one thing Gary will talk about. We're going to talk about the Olympics next year. We're going to talk about 2 World Cups.
Yep.
There's a lot of positives to be dealt with, and then people are going to ask about expansion, And he's going to say, well, we're not interested in expansion, but if somebody phones and says they want to talk about it, we're happy to talk about it. Then they're going to talk about how they manage long-term injury reserve in the playoffs so that teams don't cheat. By the way, both Edmonton and Florida are over the cap.
Wow.
When you think about
in the playoffs, yeah.
In the playoffs, but the cap doesn't exist in the playoffs.
Exactly.
But both teams, because of guys like Evander Kane and the Matthew Tkachuk injury, which allowed them to sign Seth Jones, to trade for Seth Jones. I mean, both of these teams would be in LTIR, and that's the way the CBA reads it at this point.
Yeah, not breaking any rules. John, thanks for this. We'll talk to you next week. We'll see how the Stanley Cup Final goes.
Cheers, boys.